So every one of the 45 people I went to, I had vibe coded a tool for their brand, right? To say, it's going to look like this. Will you pay money for this? Everybody said yes. The whole residency is 10 weeks. So you're supposed to find a co-founder, figure out what ideas you're working on, finalize it, go test it in the market, pitch it to a whole bunch of partners. And if they like you at the end of the 10 weeks. So right now, HeyAmos is in 10 countries. We're 12 weeks old. That would have been unheard of a couple of years ago.
You are from Bangalore. Your SaaS journey across NI, Practo, Amazon, how does that translate to how you operate today?
Amazon was incredible simply because just watching them make decisions was such an honor. Because one of the things that Amazon does is they don't do slides, like everything has to
Yeah.
be written down. And
Yep.
when you write down, you need to really think through whatever you're proposing. And the whole team sits for the first 15 minutes to just read what you've written. So it was really about going in depth about what was the opportunity cost of like launching something. Error rates used to be so low because even like I used to go on to manage the prime day for the India ads business, right? And I had to figure out what are the ways that we can monetize, how do we stay aligned with what the Seattle team wanted.
Oh, amazing. I worked closely with someone who was ex-Amazon and brought this culture into my first startup. Honestly, I haven't created a deck in the last 7 years or so. Like, it's always better to document it. Yeah.
And I really hope people still write those documents and don't outsource it to AI for certain. Like AI is great at editing, right?
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
feel like if you want to ideate and have a judgment or a direction, you need to groom that data so much. And
You are an AI operator and now you're building a business. At some point, the founder itch kicks in for most operators, but most people don't act on it. Walk us through the idea. How did it come in? How did it shape for you?
I feel like we want to be as practical and analytical with every decision that we make, but sometimes it's just gut feeling. When I worked at Practo and ShopBack, right, I was quite founder adjacent, so I worked very closely with founders. These were places that give you enormous amount of agency. The buck stops with you. It doesn't matter if there's a problem in engineering, finance, legal, HR, doesn't matter. So for me, one of the things that working in very you're never limited in your potential skills or resources. What changed in the last 12 months, especially with the AI landscape moving so fast, was I thought it was an enormous opportunity to be a business owner simply because of the fact that you didn't need to rely on so many people to run a business.
Let's come to Antler. For people who are listening and don't know, is one of the most respected early stage programs. I Can you give the audience a proper look of the Antler Residency program, what it does to a founder, how does it test you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I know that Antler has a lot of residencies in different parts of the world. So the one that I was in Singapore, they're also like their main branches. So they have a lot of folks who fly into Singapore for the residency program. The first thing that hits you is it's so diverse. There are at least people from like 30 countries, and the second thing that hits you is everybody is coming from such different backgrounds, work experiences. Some of them have exited companies. Some of them are kids who just graduate from college. And then there were people like me who've spent 15 years scaling businesses. It's just a melting pot. There's a lot of socializing in the first week because everybody's trying to find each
Yeah.
other's founders. Sometimes we look at all the wrong signals, right? We look at, okay, is my resume matching? This guy's resume looks awesome. I want to be his partner, but guess what? Together we work terrible.
Yeah.
But the whole residency is 10 weeks, so you're supposed to find at least a co-founder. You need to figure out what ideas you're working on, finalize it, go test it in the market, pitch it to a whole bunch of partners, and if they like you, I have two co-founders that I met at Antler, and we matched based on values actually.
I actually relate to it. And I was at Entrepreneur First in Bangalore. I went into that program and there were like
Yeah.
40 of us, like they're exited founders. I had tech people who had patents, people who had like PhDs. For me, it did not work out. I had three different like teams and we broke up. And by the end, the idea that we pitched it didn't work. But my general observation is that everyone should do it once in their life. It's a really beautiful experience. Like, okay, now yeah, let's get into HeyAmos. Like we have come arrived to
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah.
Tell us about the real finding story. Why HeyAmos? Why this category? And why at that point? Like,
Very interestingly, we were having lunch once and we were just talking about what's happening in the world, like banter. And then, we were talking about how like our behaviors have changed, how I'm trying to use ChatGPT Atlas to like book my, we want to go to a vacation in Bangkok, like it's booking my Airbnb. I wanted to shortlist the Airbnb at least so that I can decide and then book because I don't want to waste bandwidth looking at the options. I had given it a lot of criteria and we were having this conversation. Now I come from marketplace space. I've worked very close in like the travel business with ShopBack and I know my own behavior is changing a lot. Like and it's kind of like agents are making the decision and if my agent is not finding the information that it needs to make decisions, then too bad, you're not in it. My co-founder, so he's been a CMO at a whole bunch of marketing companies in the past. So he's been a B2B SaaS marketer for the longest time. And he was saying that, like for him, I need to be where my users are. And it's like no matter which way I look, all my users are on LLM. So I need to be on the LLMs. And then my CTO, our third co-founder, Ruben, he has actually built marketing tech products. Like his past two products that he built were marketing tech. He was like, this is the hottest space right now. And like we see all of this and we're like, we realized that the energy in the room between the three of us just went up so high. So we gave ourselves 1 week to go see what is the state of the market, right? Like we'll go talk to people in our networks, reach out to people, interview as many people as possible to understand if they see the same shift that we are seeing and can they name one tool that can do what we are doing. We spoke to maybe 45 people in 1 week. That is the power
okay.
of working in an accelerator, right? If you worked in a company, you would have phased this out. But here you just move as fast as you can. And what we realized is not one person could name one tool they could use.
Yeah.
So I vibe coded what our tool would look like in the future. So every one of the 45 people I went to, I had vibe coded a tool for their brand, right? To say it's going to look like this. Will you pay money for this? Everybody said yes. So that's when I was like, okay, so they're
Yeah.
willing to pay money. The vibe code that I did like overnight kind of works. Okay, there's something here.
Yeah, you are building a company in 2026. It's very different from how companies used to be built in 2020 or even till I would say 2024. What does it take to be a founder right now? What are certain things that you're doing differently and what are certain traps that you're consciously trying to avoid in 2026?
One of the things that we are seeing is that the way B2B SaaS companies were building before, and we've all been users, I've sold, I've scaled these companies, right? Is so different in 2026. In the 2015s, when I was trying to scale a SaaS product, the whole focus was, hey, what are my daily active users? What are my monthly active users? Who's logging into the tool every day? And it was all about like the UX and these beautiful dashboards that you see and so on. And then fast forward now, everybody has Claude or ChatGPT, and my thing is the future of software is headless. If I don't integrate into your workflow, there's no stickiness. The best way to integrate into someone's workflow right now is to have your MCP or have your connectors, have that accessible so that people can merge data. We have so many customers who use our MCP, and I think investors are also very scared that hey, are you just another rapper? Can some kid vibe code you over the night and then you don't have a business anymore? Because I think the effort that was needed to build code is not. I think people valued code very differently 10 years ago was now. So the other thing is we could go global from day one. So right now, HeyAmos is in 10 countries. We're 12 weeks old. That would have been unheard of a couple of years. There's also been a lot of competition because Claude keeps releasing something new. So you constantly have to prove yourself that hey, you have a moat that Claude will not outbuild you
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
point of.
Some of my previous guests also said that building may not be the biggest problem in today's world. I think distribution is going to be like, how should founders start thinking about like distribution from day one? Like, you have an opinion on that specifically to B2B in today's world?
I think the metrics have changed. In the past, you can grow 10% month on month. You find product market fit and you scale. But right now, what we get measured at is almost at a seed level. There's this every investor meeting you go to, there's always this one example that comes. It's about this guy who vibe coded a startup and sold it for $1 billion. And they're like, hey, if one person can do this, like, what is stopping you? But he figured out the distribution, right? I can see a lot of people kind of focus on, okay, how will you sell? How can you sell this in the shortest period of time without hiring capital, without hiring sales guys? And I think that's kind of where you need to crack. There's no easy way out, but you have to find like satellite distribution in every single market, like one person who will get you to 70 other people, or getting access to a lot of folks.
I think just last question before we wrap up. There will be a lot of people who would be listening to this from one operator to other. If there is someone where you were maybe a year ago, what would be your advice to those people who are right now maybe considering taking a leap of faith and trying to build something of their own?
My two cents is, if you're already considering, it means you have an appetite for a little bit of risk and being in uncertainty. I think what it's very important is, even if you choose to not go in this path or you find another job, you're going to be a very different person at the end of it. You're going to have so much agency. The way you problem solve, the way you decide what to focus on is going to be so different. The way you prioritize problems, the way you prioritize what you need is going to look so different. So for me, I would say you're better off for trying than not having tried. If you're hungry to stay ahead of the curve, to like really expand and see where all the abilities that you can try out, I promise you'll come out a different person, even if you decided to not incorporate your company just for that reason.
Thank you everyone who stayed till the end. This is Aakash, and once again Nitya, thank you for joining
Thank you
from
so much.
Singapore. This is GTM and AI Operator Show. Stay tuned for our next guest. If you know someone who you think should be part of the conversation, please drop their name in the comments. Thank you once again.